She thought I never noticed, that I'd stay blind, stay quiet, maybe even blame myself. But I was watching everything, logging every lie. By the time she smiled at me like nothing was wrong, I already knew how it would end. My name is Daniel Hart. I'm a 35-year-old financial analyst, and I've always believed in patterns. Numbers don't lie, people do. Maybe that's why I noticed the shift in my wife before I even had proof. Her name is Melissa. We've been married for 7 years, and for most of them I thought we were happy. It started small, a late text message, a missed call she didn't mention, nights where she'd have to work late, but come home smelling like wine and someone else's cologne. I told myself I was overthinking. We all get tired, distant, distracted. But something deeper inside me, that voice you can't ignore, whispered that it wasn't just stress or routine. Something was wrong. At first, I tried to reconnect with her. I planned a weekend away, made dinner, brought her flowers. She smiled, thanked me, even hugged me. But it was the kind of hug you give a stranger who hands you your dropped wallet. Polite, distant, empty. One night, I stayed up after she went to bed. My mind was spinning. I pulled open my laptop more out of instinct than intent. I opened a blank spreadsheet and wrote, Tuesday, 8:34 p.m. Text from M, locked screen quickly. That was the first entry. I had no plan yet, just suspicion. But then there was another night. Then another. The spreadsheet grew. Her excuses didn't match her calendar. She said she was at yoga, but the gym app didn't log her in. I noticed Uber receipts in our shared email with addresses that didn't lead to her office or her friend Sarah's house. I didn't confront her. I just recorded everything. Coldly. Quietly. I started looking at her differently, not like a partner, but like a puzzle. I listened to her talk and tried to catch what she didn't say. Every smile she gave me felt faker than the last. I wanted to believe I was wrong, but the data, my data, was starting to tell a different story. By the end of that first month, I knew. I didn't have names or photos yet, but I didn't need them. I felt it in my gut. She was cheating, and for the first time in our marriage, I stopped reacting with emotion. I started planning. Every morning before work, I'd open the spreadsheet like it was part of my routine: coffee, email, betrayal. I gave each tab a title: alibis, locations, expenses, behavior. I color-coded them too. Blue for inconsistencies, red for confirmed lies. The more I tracked, the more the illusion of our marriage unraveled in clean, unforgiving rows. It should have hurt less doing it this way, treating it like data instead of heartbreak. But that was a lie I told myself to keep going. The truth is, every red cell I filled in felt like a cut. I'd sit at my desk pretending to work while my chest clenched, like my body didn't know how to process the betrayal I wasn't allowed to show. At home, I played the role. I kissed her on the cheek, asked about her day, even folded her laundry while she laughed at something on her phone. I'd glance over and wonder if it was him making her smile. Then I'd go to the bathroom, shut the door, and breathe, slow, controlled, cold. Sometimes I questioned myself. Was I being petty, obsessive? But then I'd see the Uber logs again, one ride at midnight to a downtown apartment, another the next week. She never mentioned them. I cross-referenced the times with her girls' nights. Lies layered on lies. I began recognizing patterns in her affection. She'd be overly sweet the day after a late return, like guilt was leaking out in little gestures. I logged those, too. I had emotional timestamps. When she kissed me after a night away, I didn't feel love, I felt insulted. She thought I was stupid. That hurt more than the cheating itself. I didn't tell anyone, not my brother, not my closest friend. I lived in silence because silence gave me power. If I exploded too soon, I'd be the crazy one, the paranoid husband. But if I waited, if I had proof, undeniable, detailed, time-stamped proof, then I wouldn't just catch her. I'd destroy the lie we were living in. And maybe, just maybe, I'd come out of it with something she didn't think I had left: control. That's when the rage started to harden into something else. Not panic, not heartbreak. A plan. There were nights I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling, wondering how someone could lie so easily while breathing the same air as you. Melissa would roll over and drape her arm across my chest like everything was fine, like we were still us. I'd freeze, not because I wanted her touch, but because I didn't want to give away how dead inside I'd become. I could have screamed. I wanted to. I wanted to grab her shoulders and ask her who he was, how long it had been going on, how she looked me in the eyes and said, "I love you." But I didn't. Not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't done collecting the pieces. I wanted her to keep lying. I needed her to. Every lie she told became another brick in the wall I was building between us. A wall I would one day push over and bury her with. She had no idea. That was the part that amazed me. I wasn't cold or distant. I didn't change routines. I played the loving husband with a performance I didn't know I was capable of. If anything, she seemed more relaxed, more confident in the lie. That hurt, too, the way she smiled wider as if life had suddenly gotten better for her. It had. She had 2 men and one of them was a fool, or so she thought. I started keeping backup copies of the spreadsheet on a hidden drive. Password protected, encrypted. I even included screenshots of her messages when I found a way to sync her cloud backups, a risk, yes, but worth it. I saw texts that made my stomach twist. Words she never said to me anymore. Phrases like, "I wish I could fall asleep next to you every night, and you make me feel alive." Alive, that one stuck with me. I wanted to hate her, but I wasn't there yet. I still remembered the woman I fell in love with. I still saw flashes of her in the kitchen when she danced while making coffee or laughed at a bad movie. But now, every beautiful moment felt like a trick, and I couldn't stop pretending, not yet. Because pretending gave me time. And time was the sharpest weapon I had. It happened on a Tuesday evening, the kind of day where nothing seemed different, and maybe that's what made it worse. Melissa walked in around 10 p.m., the scent of perfume and wine clinging to her like static. She had her hair down, makeup slightly smudged, eyes gleaming with whatever night she'd just lived without me. "Sorry work ran late again," she said, dropping her bag and kicking off her heels. Then she smiled. That smile, easy, warm, casual, like I didn't matter. Like I hadn't spent the last 2 hours staring at a GPS tracker, pinging her location across town at a condo registered to a name I didn't recognize. Like I wasn't holding the knowledge that she had kissed someone else less than an hour ago. Something in me cracked. I nodded, forcing my lips into something that resembled understanding. "Rough night?" I asked. She shrugged, walked past me, and kissed my cheek. "Exhausting, I'm going to shower." I stood in the kitchen after she left, hands gripping the counter, jaw tight. That smile had broken something. Not just trust, not just love, but whatever thread was still keeping me tethered to the hope that maybe, deep down, she still respected me. She didn't. She pitied me. She thought I'd never know. She thought I wasn't worth the truth. I walked to my study, locked the door, and opened the spreadsheet again. I added a new tab, Phase 2. Until that point, I'd only been documenting, surviving. But now it was time to act. I made a list of all our shared accounts, properties, insurance policies. I created a folder for legal contacts. Quietly, efficiently, I began researching asset protection, divorce law, and digital evidence admissibility. Every night after she slept, I plotted. She had no clue. That was my greatest advantage, her arrogance. She underestimated how calm I could be while everything burned inside me. That smile lit the fire. And the fire didn't scream, it didn't shout. It calculated. That night I didn't cry, I didn't rage. I simply looked at her toothbrush next to mine and thought, soon it won't be here. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of peace. I became 2 men. One was the husband Melissa thought she still had, dependable, passive, harmless. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, asked how her day was in the evenings, even brought home takeout when she claimed she was too busy to cook. I played the part so well, even I started forgetting who I really was sometimes. The other man was the one in the shadows, the one building an exit. While she texted him under the covers at night, I was awake 2 rooms away, sorting through legal templates and credit reports. I contacted a divorce lawyer under a fake name and scheduled a consultation during my lunch break. I moved half of my paycheck into a new account she didn't know existed. I stopped contributing to our joint savings. She didn't even notice. She never looked anymore. I started going to the gym again, not for her, for me. Every drop of sweat felt like a small act of defiance. I wasn't going to be the broken man she expected to leave behind. I wasn't going to let her story end with me shattered and forgotten. I'd been silent long enough. Now I was rebuilding from the inside out. I met with a real estate agent, casually asking what it would take to sell the condo we owned downtown, the one we had bought for the future. I didn't say it, but in my head I added, a future you've already given to someone else. The hardest part wasn't the secrecy. It was pretending I didn't care. Watching her get dressed up on weekends, laughing into her phone, taking business trips she didn't even try to explain anymore. She thought I was clueless, that I was still too in love or too weak to see what was right in front of me. But the truth was, I saw everything. Every smile she faked, every moment she thought she got away with something, I logged it, I felt it, and I used it as fuel. I wasn't just building an escape plan. I was building a mirror, one I'd one day hold up to her so she could see exactly who she'd become. And when that day came, I wouldn't have to raise my voice. The truth would speak for itself. I always knew. Deep down, I never needed proof to feel the betrayal, but knowing and confirming aren't the same thing. I needed something undeniable, something that would silence any excuse, any lie, any attempt to twist the truth. It came sooner than I expected. Melissa had been planning a conference trip to Chicago. She told me it was a 3-day marketing seminar hosted by her firm. I smiled and wished her luck, even offered to drop her at the airport. She declined, of course. "Sarah's going to drive me," she said. The same Sarah who'd supposedly been with her during half of the suspicious nights I'd logged. I nodded, pretending not to notice how fast she looked away. The night before her trip, I checked the new phone tracking software I'd quietly installed on her old tablet, the one she thought she'd wiped clean. What she didn't know was that I had restored the backups weeks ago. She hadn't changed her passwords. She didn't think she needed to. I watched her book a hotel, not under her name, but his, Andrew Benson. I finally had a name. She used a shared credit card to buy wine, new lingerie, and dinner reservations for 2. All sent to my inbox by the account notifications she never realized were still active. Still, I waited. I wanted to be sure. On the second night of her trip, I made the decision. I got in my car and drove, 4 hours of silence, replaying every moment of our marriage in my head like a movie unraveling in reverse. I pulled into the parking lot of the hotel just past midnight. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I was strangely calm. I saw them walking out of the lobby hand in hand. She was laughing, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard in our house in years. His hand was on her back. He kissed her like she was his, and she let him. I didn't confront them. I just stood in the shadow of a parked SUV, phone in hand, taking photo after photo, time-stamped, geotagged, undeniable. When I got back in the car, I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder, cleaner. Now I wasn't just suspicious. Now I had evidence. And that changed everything. When Melissa got home, she brought me a souvenir, a novelty mug with Chicago, the Windy City printed in bold letters. She handed it to me with a kiss on the cheek, acting like she'd just returned from a sales seminar and not someone else's bed. I took it, smiled, and said, "Thanks, missed you." She had no idea I'd defollowed her. No idea I'd watched her in real time. No idea the man she kissed goodbye at the hotel's curb was captured in 5 high-resolution photos from multiple angles. She chatted with me over dinner like nothing had happened, telling me about keynote speakers and long days. I asked her questions, just to hear her lie. Every word she spoke was a nail in the coffin she didn't even know she was building. I didn't show anger. I didn't show anything. That was the hard part, hiding the storm that was already swelling inside me. I wanted to throw the mug against the wall, tell her I knew everything, scream her lover's name just to watch the color drain from her face. But no, not yet. I needed things to be perfect. Over the next week, I finished phase 2 of the plan. I contacted my lawyer and gave her the full file, the spreadsheet, the screenshots, the messages, the photos. "You've built a case stronger than most private investigators," she said. "You want full asset protection and custody of the house." "Yes," I told her, "and I want her served when she least expects it." I spent the following days pretending. I laughed at her jokes. I cooked her favorite meal. One night, she put her head on my shoulder while we watched a movie and said, "I'm glad we're in a better place lately." I almost laughed, but instead, I wrapped my arm around her and replied, "Me too." That week was the calmest we'd had in months, because only I knew it was all a setup. The storm was coming, not with fists or fury, but with cold, calculated truth. She thought she had fooled me for months, but the only one playing a game now was me. It happened on a Wednesday, quiet, ordinary, like any other. That was the point. I wanted it to blindside her. She left for work wearing a navy blazer and heels, kissing me goodbye with a lie on her lips, and her phone buzzing with texts I no longer bothered to check. I watched her drive off, calm, focused. My hands didn't shake as I made the final call to my lawyer. By noon, it was done. She was served at her office, papers slid across her desk in front of her team. A lawsuit for divorce, a formal record of infidelity, a demand for separation of assets in my favor, citing detailed documentation and digital proof. Her face, I was told, went pale. Her voice failed her. One of her coworkers said she dropped her phone. I'd asked for everything to be professional, airtight, and clean. The kind of move you couldn't weasel out of. The kind you couldn't deny. I had spent months preparing the spreadsheet, the screenshots, the tracking, the financial shifts, all of it feeding into a legal machine built to protect me and leave her standing in the ruins of what she thought was control. I wasn't home when she returned. I was at a quiet cafe across town, drinking black coffee while I waited for her to realize the full scope of what was happening. She called me 23 times. I let each call ring out. She texted me everything from "please, let's talk" to "how could you do this?" to "you misunderstood everything." That last one made me smile. When I finally returned home later that evening, she was there, sitting on the couch, eyes swollen, mascara smudged. She stood as I walked in, clutching the papers in her hand. "I can explain," she whispered. I looked her in the eyes, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt nothing. "You don't need to," I said. "It's all right there, you already did." She started crying, rambling, reaching for excuses. But I didn't flinch, not this time. I walked past her into our bedroom, no, my bedroom now, and closed the door. She thought I'd never leave. She thought I'd always be there. But I had already left the moment she smiled and thought I wouldn't see the truth. The fallout came fast. Within a week of being served, Melissa had moved into a furnished apartment she could barely afford. She tried to delay the proceedings, begged for mediation, said we should talk like adults. But I knew what that meant. She was hoping I'd soften, give her space to spin a different story, rewrite the truth. I didn't budge. I had facts, dates, photos, lies tracked down to the minute, and every time she tried to deny it, my lawyer simply slid another sheet across the table. Melissa stopped talking after the third meeting. By then, even she couldn't fake confusion anymore. She lost access to the joint savings account. The house stayed in my name. I proved she'd been using marital funds to finance her affair, the trips, the dinners, the gifts. That didn't just kill her credibility, it gave me leverage, more than she ever expected me to have. And Andrew, he disappeared the moment things got complicated. Classic. The man who made her feel alive ghosted the second she needed him to stand beside her. I found some poetic justice in that. He was never going to build a life with her. She was just his escape from whatever he was running from. Once reality hit, he ran too. She sent me long messages in the middle of the night. Apologies, regrets, half-hearted explanations wrapped in nostalgia. We were drifting. I was lonely. You were distant. I read them all, and then I deleted them, because I wasn't interested in hearing what she thought anymore, not after months of silence from her while I unraveled alone. I'd already grieved the marriage. I'd already buried the version of her I loved. What remained was just a stranger who wore her face and thought I'd never rise. But I had. One morning I walked through the house and felt it differently, not as a place full of lies, but as my home again. Quiet, clean, honest. The air felt lighter, the silence peaceful, the spreadsheets were gone, the secrets exposed, the war over. Melissa didn't just lose me. She lost the story she was trying to write, one where I was too broken to fight back. She thought she was in control, but I had rewritten the ending. It's strange how peace feels when it finally arrives. Not loud, not triumphant, just quiet. I stood in the kitchen one morning, sunlight pouring through the window, coffee in hand, and I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not waiting for answers, not scanning for lies, not waking up with that heavy feeling in my chest. The war was over, and I had walked out of it not just standing, but stronger than I'd ever been. The divorce finalized in just under 3 months. Clean, direct, no fanfare. My lawyer said it was one of the easiest cases she'd ever handled, not because it wasn't painful, but because the truth was undeniable. Melissa tried to save face, but by the end, she stopped fighting. She saw the mountain of evidence and finally understood. I'd been preparing for this long before she even knew she was caught. She lost more than just the house and the money. She lost the version of herself she thought she could preserve, the good wife, the misunderstood victim, the one who just made a mistake. She looked in the mirror now and saw what I had seen for months, someone who chose lies and lost everything. As for me, I rebuilt, slowly, patiently. I took time off work and traveled, just me, no baggage. I went to the beach and didn't feel guilty for smiling. I met new people, not looking for love, but for stories that didn't begin with pain. I went back to the gym, not to look better for someone else, but because I wanted to feel whole in my own skin again. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being the man who tracked an affair in a spreadsheet. I became the man who refused to be broken by it. People hear my story and ask, was it worth it? All the silence, the planning, the revenge. My answer is always the same. I didn't do it to destroy her. I did it to save myself. Because surviving betrayal isn't just about walking away. It's about walking away without looking back. And I didn't just survive. I won